Welcome once again to Computerized Accounting Systems. My name is Emmanuel Lai. Last time we saw a practical approach to creating a company using the Tally accounting system, and we saw that every company is created so that we can put in details to represent the items that go on the company or the various accounts that should be represented in the company. We saw the various entries for the company, that's the details such as the date and the period of creation, that is your financial year and your books beginning from. We also saw the security of companies, and I believe we all have an understanding into that till now. We're looking at our first transaction, and we'll use this transaction as our basis to understand how Tally works. And so we're going through transactions until we go to the end of the year for this company, starting from April to the following year, March, and even another entry for April to see the span of 1 year and how accounts are treated in Tally. Let's go to the screen and see what we have for our very first transaction. And so we have our company Content IT Consult, and we are going to see how we can enter transactions into the company. One thing you should note is that Tally, or in the accounting environment, we have to create our ledgers, and these ledgers are interacted with. That is, we enter the various transactions into ledgers using vouchers. So we'll see ourselves working with the accounts ledgers and account vouchers as often as we want to enter transactions. Account ledgers are found at account information, and the vouchers are found at the transactions. So we will start with the account ledgers. Our company Content IT Consult was founded by Kojo Fosu, and we'll go to the slide that has that so we can see the question. So we start with our very first transaction, which we can see from our slides, that on the 1st of April 2005, Kojo Fosu started Content IT Consult by bringing in cash of 60,000 Ghana cedis. We see that we need two ledgers. We need the Kojo Fosu capital and then the cash. So we create the capital for Kojo Fosu and the capital account. Usually, I advise that you precede your capital accounts with the word capital so that it will be easier to identify them, as Tally lists its ledgers and these books alphabetical order, in an alphabetical order. With this, if you're looking for two different capital accounts, it's easier to find them in the same place than to have different names and look for the capital account. So let us create a capital account for Kojo Fosu and then also look at the issue of cash. With cash, we do not create a ledger because there's a predefined ledger in Tally known as cash, and so we'll use that ledger to achieve what we need to with the cash. So let's go to the system. We create a ledger. Ledgers are created at accounts information, as I said before. So we press A and we create ledgers by pressing the L and then the C for create. Our first ledger is capital, and we can give a hyphen and mention Kojo Fosu. The capital is under capital account. We don't want to put any alias, which is another name for the capital account. These are names that we will use to identify the accounts if we need to, and they would have been in our chart of accounts, which we'll talk about later. But we will not put any alias for now, and under the capital account, this is where we put our Kojo Fosu capital account. We continue by pressing enter to the very end where the balance is, but since we don't have any opening balance, we only press the enter and this is accepted for us. We would have created the cash ledger, but as I said before, because there is a predefined ledger known as cash, and so we straightway go to the vouchers and try to enter this transaction. A voucher is the source document that you will use to enter ledgers on the transactions that have been done. And with this particular transaction, we are going to debit our cash and credit the capital, because the cash is received on the company's behalf and we are receiving it from Kojo Fosu, whose capital we are going to credit because he gave to us. We have the date and we go on to enter to debit our cash. But before we can debit the cash, we will note the voucher we are using. This is the payment voucher, and it means the company is paying out an amount to another entity. However, since we are receiving from capital, we will change the voucher type to a receipt instead of a payment. On the right, you can see the various voucher types that we have. We have the contract, payment, receipt, journal, sales, credit note, purchases, and it continues. A few more journals we have. We would look at the receipt journal by clicking receipt or pressing the F6. That gives us the receipt voucher. Sorry, it's not journal, voucher. And we can press the enter key from the date. Since it's the 1st of April 2005 and it's correct, we go to credit our capital because that is where we are receiving the money from. Once you start typing capital, it lists it on the right, and we can press the enter key because that's selected. That's only account there anyway, and it's selected. And the amount involved is 60,000 Ghana cedis. And then we debit our cash of same. Tally automatically gives us the debiting correspondent, and we can give the narration as being capital introduced into the organization. So we can just make sure everything type is correct. Press the enter to accept and another enter key to choose the yes. This voucher has been entered and we are through with the first transaction. There are a few more transactions we'll do, but this was to help us understand how transactions are entered into the Tally accounting system. We will continue with the rest of the transactions, and this will go at a quicker pace because now you understand how to enter transactions. But as we go along, always keep in mind we create ledgers and then we come and use vouchers to enter various figures and transactions into the ledgers. Let's go for some more ledgers by looking at our next example. We'll go into our PowerPoint and let's see what we have. On the 2nd of April 2005, he paid 2,000 in cash to purchase a computer with preloaded Office Management Enterprise System. The computer does not have any disposable value at the end of its useful life of 4 years. All assets are to be depreciated using the straight line method. And so the ledger we will need here is computer, and computer will be created under the fixed assets. Let's go to the Tally environment and create computer by going to accounts, information, ledgers, and create computer. And then computer will be under fixed assets. We type the fixed assets and select it from the list. We do not have any opening balance for the fixed asset computer, so we press enter key to accept, and we have our ledger created for the fixed assets computer. Let's go back to the gateway of Tally and do the entry for this particular transaction. Now, since the company paid out an amount to get the computer, we would use the payment voucher. So we change over to the payment voucher and we type the date, which is the 2nd of April 2005. Now we would be debiting our computer whose ledger we just created, and that is 2,000 Ghana cedis. And then we credit our cash since it was bought with cash by selecting it from the list or typing to get it selected automatically. And here we say payment, or we can use the word purchase of computer for business. We enter to accept, and our second transaction has been done. I believe you get how it is going now. By now, since we are computerized accounting system, we know we can even look at our balance sheet as at now. Let's go to balance sheet by pressing the B. And here we can see there's a balance sheet of 60,000. This is presented on a vertical note. We can present our balance sheet horizontally by changing the way it shows using configurations also. We'll come to more of configurations and features as we advance in the course. But for now, it's presented vertically because it has been configured to present vertically. If yours is horizontal, never mind. It's the same thing we have, and we'll be taking care of it as the course proceeds. Let's go on to enter a few more transactions, and then we can look at the balance sheet all over again. So at the account information, we would create more ledgers. But before we do that, let's see the question. And it says that for our third transaction, he opened a bank account with GN Bank for the firm by depositing 20,000 cash. Now, with this, we need a ledger called GN Bank. It's on a bank account. And we'll be using a voucher called contra, because whenever a transaction takes place between the bank and cash, we would use the voucher contra. This means that the transaction has taken place between just two entities which are of cash in nature, that is the bank and then the cash. Let's go to the tally environment and create our ledger, which is going to be the bank. Here to the concession could be bank and a hyphen GN. Here to the conversion that can be used as preceding the bank name with the word bank, so that if you have more than one banks, it will be easier to locate them in the list. Bank is under bank account, so we can select that or type to have it selected, and we press enter key. It says the effective date for reconciliation is 1st April 2005. This means that for our bank reconciliation, we would be looking at the period between the 1st April 2005 to the end of the year. We accept this since it is the beginning of our financial year, it coincides with our financial year. We accept that and continue by pressing the key to accept. So if we go back to the gateway of Tally, we can go to our vouchers and register this particular transaction, that he opened a bank account with GN. We go for the contra by pressing F4, and here we look at the date, which says the 3rd of April 2005, and we credit the cash, and then that is 20,000, and then we debit the bank we just created, GN Bank. That is a corresponding 20,000. This is maybe our first contra, or you could give the narration that will best make meaning to you as the accountant. Press the enter key to accept, and we are finished with that particular transaction also. We go for our fourth transaction. Here we'll create the security deposit ledger and then specify this to be the office one, because as we may go along, we will see there are other security deposits and that may not be office, so that we can differentiate between the various security deposits that we may have. Let's go to the Tally and enter this particular transaction using the payment voucher, since we paid out something. So at the account creation, we create a ledger known as security deposit. And we call it office. This is under deposits, which is an asset, and there's no opening balance, so we press the enter key. Go back to our gateway of Tally, and at the vouchers level, we'll be using the payment, so we change our voucher to payment by pressing F5 or using the mouse, and the date is 4th April 2005. We debit our security deposit of 2,000 and credit our bank of the corresponding 2000, the check number of the bank can be written here if you have it. It's usually good to put both check number and then a hyphen, describe what just happened as your narration. So that is payment for rent security deposit. Make sure your narration is something that is meaningful and can be well understood if someone else were to read your account. So we continue for our next transaction, which is on the 5th, and there are two transactions I want us to take note of. He had two staff on monthly salary basis with the following details. Ifya Kwatima, manager operations, 3,500 as rate, and another rate 2,500 for Nuruddin Al-Hassan, who was employed as assistant manager marketing. This is a transaction which is not going to be entered for now because it's not a financial transaction, because as at the date we are entering this, they have not been paid their salaries. So the next one, which is he made arrangement with Accra Travels and Tours so that at regular intervals he will receive bills for cab hire charges and tour expense. These are transactions that will be later on worked on because they have not affected our accounts in any way. We go on to the 7th, which says he issued checks to purchase the following assets, and these are all fixed assets, as you can see. A cell phone, furniture, an air conditioner, and some electrical fittings were done as fixed assets also. We create ledgers for these, and we will learn how to create multiple ledgers so that we can do them all at once. And then we debit our various ledgers and credit our bank, because this was done with a check, meaning that he paid from the bank. Let's go to the tally to do this, achieve what we have just mentioned. And here we create ledgers. So we escape to the accounts ledgers and create a ledger for cell phone, furniture, air conditioner, electrical fittings, and then we'll come crediting the bank. However, this screen will not help us so much because we will be creating only one ledger at a time. If you wanted to create more than one ledger at a time, we would go back to where we just came from and use multiple ledgers, so that at the ledger stage we create multiple ledgers instead of creating single ledgers. So under this we have fixed assets, because all we are going to mention are fixed assets, cell phone, and then we go on to add our furniture and go on to add our air conditioner, and then the last of them being electrical fittings. So we press the enter key again to signify we are through and accept this, and we have all the ledgers, that is 4 of them, created for us. We go to the accounting vouchers, and since this is a payment, we'll be using the payment voucher to enter the transactions.